Welcome back to another Now Playing Recaps video. Today we're counting down the top 5 horror movies of all time. Buckle up, folks, because this list is going to be scarier than your ex's Instagram. Horror movies, those delightful little nightmares we willingly subject ourselves to, are a genre that tugs at the very strings of our primal fears. Whether it's the eerie creak of a floorboard in the dead of night, or the gut-wrenching suspense of what's lurking around the corner, horror movies are designed to make us squirm, scream, and, let's be honest, question our life choices. So, grab your security blanket and maybe an adult diaper, because we're diving headfirst into the ultimate horror fest. Starting off at number 5, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The 1974 classic that taught us never to pick up hitchhikers and to avoid rural Texas at all costs. This gem starts with a group of young friends who decide that a road trip through the middle of nowhere is a brilliant idea. Spoiler, it's not. They stumble upon Leatherface, a chainsaw-wielding maniac with a penchant for wearing other people's faces. Yes, you heard that right. Leatherface's family is a delightful bunch of cannibals who treat murder like it's a family bonding activity. The movie is a relentless assault on the senses, with screams, chainsaw revving, and the kind of acting that makes soap operas look like Shakespeare. It's raw, it's gritty, and it's the reason I sleep with a nightlight. The story kicks off with our clueless victims, characters, embarking on a road trip to check out a family homestead. Along the way, they pick up a hitchhiker, who's nuttier than a squirrel's breakfast. After a series of unfortunate events, they end up at a creepy, isolated house. And surprise, surprise, that's where the real fun begins. Leatherface, the local handyman with a flair for interior design and human skin, decides to give them a warm welcome with his trusty chainsaw. The dinner scene is a real highlight, a family meal that makes your worst Thanksgiving dinner look like a Michelin star experience. If the sound of a revving chainsaw doesn't haunt your dreams after this, you might want to check if you still have a pulse. Sliding into the number 4 spot is Halloween. Michael Myers, the original masked creep who set the bar for all future stalker ex-boyfriends. Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, spends her Halloween night avoiding getting sliced up by this overgrown toddler in a William Shatner mask. Seriously, this guy can't be stopped. Stabbed, shot, and he keeps coming back like a bad rash. The moral of the story: lock your doors, avoid babysitting, and for the love of God, do not trip when running away from a slow-walking psycho. Our tale begins with young Michael Myers brutally murdering his sister on Halloween night. Fast forward 15 years, and Michael has escaped from a mental institution because, naturally, high-security facilities are about as secure as a paper bag. He returns to his hometown of Haddonfield, where he becomes the ultimate peeping Tom, stalking Laurie and her friends. Laurie proves to be quite resourceful, using knitting needles and coat hangers as makeshift weapons. Dr. Loomis, the voice of reason, spends the whole movie trying to convince everyone that Michael is the boogeyman incarnate. The climax is a nail-biter, with Laurie fighting for her life in a final showdown that leaves Michael's fate ambiguous. Spoiler, he's not dead, he's never dead. Coming in hot at number 3, we've got The Shining. Here's Johnny. Yes, Jack Nicholson plays Jack Torrance, a wannabe writer who decides the best place to get some peace and quiet is a haunted hotel. Genius. His wife, Wendy, is about as useful as a screen door on a submarine, and their kid, Danny, spends half the movie talking to his finger. Jack goes full axe-wielding maniac because, surprise, surprise, the hotel is actually a giant haunted house with a taste for driving people batshit crazy. Red rum, red rum, red rum. Drink every time you hear that, and you'll be dead by the credits. Jack Torrance takes a job as the winter caretaker of the Overlook Hotel, thinking it'll be the perfect retreat to write his novel. Spoiler, it's not. His wife, Wendy, brings new meaning to the term damsel in distress, and their son, Danny, has a psychic ability called the Shining. He uses it to communicate with the hotel's chef, Dick Halloran. Because what's a horror movie without a psychic kid talking to an old man named Dick? As Jack loses his marbles, we're treated to some of the most iconic scenes in horror history. The elevator of blood, the twins in the hallway, and Jack's infamous "Here's Johnny" make this movie a masterpiece of madness. Jack's descent into madness is a slow burn. The Overlook Hotel, with its endless hallways and creepy decor, feels like a character in its own right. Danny, the psychic wonder child, starts seeing terrifying visions, including the infamous red rum scrawled on the wall. Jack's transformation from loving father to homicidal maniac is both tragic and terrifying. Wendy, who spends most of the movie in a state of increasing hysteria, eventually musters the courage to fight back. The final chase through the hedge maze is a heart-pounding experience that leaves you breathless. Kubrick's direction, coupled with Nicholson's unhinged performance, cements this film as a horror classic. Number 2 is Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock's magnum opus. Norman Bates, our lovable cross-dressing mama's boy, runs a quaint little motel where guests check in but don't check out. Marion Crane steals a bunch of money and thinks hiding out in a roadside motel is a brilliant idea. Spoiler alert, it's not. The shower scene alone made a generation of people scared to wash their bits. Norman's big secret? His mum's been dead for years, and he's got a side gig as her. Talk about a mama's boy. Hitchcock, you twisted genius, you really know how to mess with our heads. Norman Bates seems like the shy, awkward guy next door, except he's got a dead mother complex that makes Oedipus look well-adjusted. When Marion Crane checks into the Bates motel after stealing a wad of cash, she quickly regrets her life choices. The infamous shower scene, where Marion meets her watery demise, is enough to make anyone invest in a lifetime supply of dry shampoo. Norman's split personality and his penchant for dressing up as his deceased mother create a psychological horror that leaves you questioning your own sanity. The number 1 horror movie of all time, The Exorcist. Ah yes, the classic tale of a little girl with a voice deeper than Barry White after a night of chain-smoking cigars. The story kicks off with Regan, your average 12-year-old girl, until she starts displaying some peculiar behavior. You know, like speaking in tongues and levitating. Just typical tween stuff. Her mother, Chris, is at her wit's end, so naturally, she skips WebMD and goes straight to an exorcism. Enter Father Karras, the priest with more issues than Vogue. He teams up with Father Merrin, who's been there, done that, and got the holy water. Together, they attempt to evict the unwelcome demonic tenant in a showdown that's more intense than Black Friday at Walmart. Regan's possession starts innocuously enough with a bit of Ouija board fun, but things quickly escalate to pea soup projectile vomiting and some very colorful language that would make a sailor blush. These 5 films are the holy grail of horror, the gold standard of gut-wrenching terror. From chainsaw massacres to unstoppable killers, from haunted hotels to psycho mama's boys, and of course the ultimate demon possession. These movies don't just scare you, they haunt your very soul. And before you crawl back under your bed, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment with your own horror favorites. Bottom line, these horror flicks are the creme de la creme of fear. Watch them if you dare, and remember, no matter how scary they get, they're just movies. Or are they? Fuck me, I'm sleeping with the lights on tonight.